Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. We have a recap of the top stories for the last week of December through the first week of January of 2025, all conveniently located in one location. That's right, the first weekly recap for 2025. Enjoy. We'll see you next time. And yes, the Constitution matters.
All right, lawyer.
So go to crimetalksearch.com, sign up for that background subscription service today. And when you do, you will be able to do as many background searches on anyone you desire here in the United States. And that report is literally generated while you wait. And the final result will be emailed to you. And it can be updated when new information is in fact updated on that report. And you're going to get all kinds of information about whether someone is married, whether they have debts, whether they have judgments against them. Do they have to register as a sexual offender? Do they have a criminal history? All the types of things that, well, people may not necessarily volunteer to you that when they're trying to get to know you, but things that you may want to know about them before you get to know them better. Go to crimetalksearch.com. You're going to be happy that you did. Start the new year off safely. All right. I hope everyone had a Merry Christmas. And obviously, it is Monday. We have New Year's on Wednesday, which is going to be very, very nice. I can anticipate a great year, not only for Crime Talk, but for each and every one of you. And it's going to be a good year. I can feel it. All right. Let's go ahead and get to the docket. How can Luigi Mangone win? Well, I think I have his defense. Now, last week we talked about jury nullification. And jury nullification is very difficult because, well, you can't tell the jury, find him guilty because you believe with the alleged actions of Luigi Mangone. And since you don't like insurance companies, find him not guilty. You can't do that. So what do you have to do? You have to beat the prosecution at their own game. And what is their game? Well, they, the prosecutors, must prove each and every element of the offense of each crime charged beyond a reasonable doubt, right? If you have 5 elements in a criminal offense, the prosecution has to prove all 5. If they fail to prove all 5, it would be the solemn oath and obligation of the jury to find Luigi Mangone not guilty. So, for example, the crime of murder. On or about and date and place charged. The defendant knowingly took the life of another person. No legal justification to do so. You see where I'm coming from? The elements. And if they fail to prove one. And what is the key element here? Because a lot of defenses are affirmative defenses saying, I did it, but I was somehow justified. Well, being that you don't like insurance companies is not a legal defense. Heat of passion, probably not so much. A little bit of planning goes in there. So what is the best defense for Luigi Mangone based upon what we know thus far? And obviously I reserve the right to change my mind based upon new information, just like any good criminal defense attorney. But here it is ID, identification. They must prove that it was in fact Luigi Mangone who was in that jacket with the hood up and the mask on, not somebody looked like him, not someone using his identity, but that it was in fact Luigi Mangone. And that is the best thing. Say, nope, you got the wrong guy, ladies and gentlemen. And Luigi Mangone has been wrongfully accused of a crime that he did not commit. That would be the argument to the jury. Well, how are they going to do that? Well, we know, for example, it's alleged that the manifesto and his DNA and things of that nature were found on the firearm or for the bullets casings that were found at the scene. But does that mean that he... Cross-examination, you can say, but you can't say when that DNA got there. You don't know if somebody had told him about it, talked about it beforehand, and maybe they tried to use that to set Luigi Mangone up. And here's the defense, right? We've all seen the photographs of Luigi Mangone leaving, and a lot of people are saying that can't be him. The eyebrows are not the same. But let me give you an example of a case where something like this actually worked. So back in 1991, there was a quadruple murder where a bank was robbed. And a guy by the name of James King was accused of it. It was a death penalty case, and he was found not guilty. Well, how did this come about? Well, and there's an interesting book, and the reason it's called Murder in the Bank Vault, and the attorney who prosecuted the case was Walter Garash. He is now passed away, but Walter Garash was a legend. here in the Denver area as an attorney. Very bold, would go to trial. I had the pleasure of actually doing a couple of cases with him. Just a great attorney and would go to the ends of the earth for his clients. But there was a picture of, this was the composite photo of the person that was identified by the police. This was the disguise that the shooter that went into the bank vault in the United Bank building and killed 4 security people and took off with a ton of money. The money was never found. James King is charged because he used to work at the bank. He was a retired police officer. And so obviously the defense at the trial was that you got the wrong guy. And we'll put these up. So if I'm holding up this book here. So these were various photographs of the same disguise. That was the composite as the witnesses identified the victim. He had on a hat, he had on sunglasses, and he had a mustache. And so what they did was, the defense attorneys did, was that they had made like a chart and it had a photo underneath, and you literally lifted it up and you could take away the hat and the mustache and the glasses. And what they did at the time is they put up very prominent people underneath the disguises. So Lee Iacocca, who was pretty popular at the time, former chairman of Chrysler, right? Marlon Brando, Robert Duvall, and Jack Nicholson, all there as well. They also did one with Harrison Ford. And guess what? The jury ultimately found him not guilty. And so, therefore, if that's the type of thing that the defense is going to do, if they're going to go identity, all those photographs that were taken, right? Nothing clear. Eyebrows seem to look different in different photographs when he's arrested versus the one that they're trying to say was him. And if you can put the disguise up with various people, the hoodie and the mask, and you pull that back and it's going to be somebody else, I think Luigi Mangone has his defense. It's not him. Now, am I going to say this is going to work? I don't know. But as a criminal defense attorney, you have to come up with something you have to do, right? The elements, that's what they have to prove, that it was the defendant. Not somebody who looked like him, not someone using his identity, but it was, in fact, the defendant, Luigi Mangone. That's the defense they've got to run, ladies and gentlemen. Now, hold me to this. If I'm wrong, you can let me know as well. But like I said, any criminal case, the elements have to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. Here, you have a mask. Somebody has a hood over them. They're going ID. They got to go ID. All right. Next in Luigi Mangone news, the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, New York, has become kind of the center point for some high-profile cases. Obviously, Luigi Mangone is being held there, and he's the prime suspect in the United Healthcare killing of their CEO, Bryan Thompson. And obviously, rapper Sean P. Diddy Do It Combs is also facing some serious allegations himself. Now, Mangione and Diddy are on separate floors at the particular moment. Mangione remains in the SHU, affectionately known as the Special Housing Unit, and that's where usually defendants are held for their own protection or until they basically can prove that they can do okay in a prison pre-sentence confinement type environment. Now, obviously, the federal detention center there is close to the federal courthouse in Manhattan, where both of those men can attend their court appearances without extensive travel. Now, Mangioni's next hearing is scheduled for February 21st of 2025, and they'll determine the next steps in the proceedings. Now, obviously, he's pled not guilty. He's entitled to that presumption of innocence, and not only than sharing the same detention center, guess what? They share the same married couple as their attorneys. Now, Karen Friedman Agnifilio, she's the former prosecutor from the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, and she represents Mr. Mangione. And she is married to Mark Agnifilio, who represents old P. Diddy. Now, they're still in the same firm. Karen Friedman is of counsel with the firm, probably so they avoid any conflicts or anything of that nature. And she can come and go as she pleases because she's this legal analyst. And she does some consulting as it relates to, I think it was Law and Order that she does some work on as well. Anyway, there you go, some Luigi Mangone news. But the other thing that we want to talk about is you can't legally put money on the fate of Luigi Mangone, at least not in the United States. Now, a betting website called Kalishi is one of the only legal prediction markets. They pulled all bets related to the United Healthcare assassination in the middle of December, citing problems with federal regulators. Now, gamblers who want to bet on something a little more exciting than maybe football games are using prediction market sites where they can bet on the outcome of just about anything. Well, the Commodities Future and Trading Commission, affectionately known as the CFTC, has oversight on prediction markets like Kalishi and Predict. And then on December 13th, all wagers related to Mangione vanished from the sites. Now, Kalishi removed the Mangione-related wagers from sites after it received a notice from regulators. And the outlet notes that the CFTC bans future trading linked to crimes including assassination, terrorism, and war if the agency decides the so-called event contracts are against the public interest. Now, the other betting website is on Polymarkets, and on Polymarkets, all assassin-related bets are still on. Polymarkets is based overseas at London. So the question there is, will Luigi Mangone fire his lawyers between 2025? Polymarkets has the odds at just 1%. Will it be confirmed that Luigi Mangone used psychedelics? Well, the users that are on Polymarkets give it a 43% chance. The question of, was Luigi Mangone motivated by denied claims? Well, on December 10th, Polymarkets had this at a 75% chance, but obviously that went down to about 25% once it was revealed that he wasn't even a customer of United Healthcare. So anyway, none of the Mangione-related bets are high volume at over $400,000. Is Luigi Mangone's YouTube channel real? That carried most of the volume. However, the viral YouTube channel has long since been determined to be fake. And the question about his motivation is at $183,000, but every other market has failed to get above $100,000. Now, the prediction market takes a percentage of the bets, and Kalishi and Predict are likely not missing a lot of cash by losing the assassin-related bets. Now, the CFTC's move to remove Mangione-related bets from Kalishi is the latest in an ongoing fight against the prediction sites. It's tried several times to regulate what kind of wagers people could place on websites like Kalishi and Predict. Now, earlier this year, it tried to stop the sites from allowing people to bet on elections, sporting goods, and ceremonial events like the Oscars. But the United States Court of Appeals overturned the ruling of the lower court in October, which allowed people to bet on the election results as well. We'll see, ladies and gentlemen. It seems like you all want to talk about Luigi Mangone, so let's do it. We might as well give him a defense. Obviously, we're not being consulted by Luigi Mangone, but you're welcome. You're welcome for the legal defense. You can send my normal hourly rate. Next, the Bryan Kohberger matter. The attorneys prosecuting the case against Bryan Kohberger, obviously the man charged of murder in the deaths of 4 University of Idaho students, have settled on their group of expert witnesses for next summer's trial. Now, the lead prosecutor there is Bill Thompson, and the prosecution met a court-imposed deadline to submit a list of those experts and their credentials last week. But the identities of those included among the group intends to call as a witness in the case against the defendant, Bryan Kohberger, is being kept from the public, which I think is ridiculous. Anyway, the Ada County District Judge, Stephen Hippler, had pushed back several deadlines, including the trial start date, after he took over the high-profile murder case when it moved out of Moscow to Boise at the defense request. Now, Judge Hippler gave prosecutors an extra 2 weeks to settle on their group of experts before they had to turn over their list of experts to the defense. Now, under this agreement to seal between the defense and the prosecution, the state's expert list was filed through the legal process known as discovery on December 18th, according to publicly available records. Now, Hippler's case scheduling order did not require the expert list to be filed under seal, but he also has not unsealed the filing for public consumption. Now, on Friday, Kohberger's defense team filed a motion with the court to compel the prosecution to provide written summaries for the testimony of his expert witness, the case summary showed. Now, the filing also includes a request for the court's sanctions. Now, late next month, the defense must provide the state with its own group of experts for the trial, which is scheduled to start in August of 2025. Deadlines are also in place into the spring for both to disclose their witnesses during their cases in rebuttal and the possible sentencing phase if Bryan Kohberger is found guilty. Now, in late April of next year, the defense and prosecution must each file with the court the names of people they separately plan to call as non-expert lay witnesses. Who are those people, how they can testify, and the facts from their personal experiences. The judge ordered those lists to be sealed, and we'll have to wait and see if those are unsealed at any given time. Now, like I said, for those who are not familiar with the case, Kohberger is accused of the November 2022 fatal stabbing deaths of 4 University of Idaho students at the off-campus home on King Road there in Moscow, Idaho. The victims were Madison Mogan, Kaylee Gonsalve, Zaina Kernodle, Ethan Chapin. Now, after a manhunt lasted nearly 7 weeks, Kohberger was arrested in Pennsylvania in December of 2022, and he's charged with 5 felonies, 4 counts of murder, and 1 count of burglary. Prosecutors intend to seek the death penalty if the jury is convicted. Now, a lot of those lay expert witnesses will more than likely come from the police department as well as from the FBI. Basically, they're non-retained experts. They're experts based upon their training and experience, and they can testify to things. And they have to be an expert if they provide something that's not basically known to everybody, common knowledge, so to speak. Now, we know the defense is probably going to call Cy Ray, a cell phone tower data expert and a former police officer in Arizona, and it's anticipated to be a witness to challenge the cell phone evidence that allegedly links Kohberger to being in the area at the time of the morning murders. His attorneys have already had Ray testify at a pretrial hearing back in May, and lay witnesses at trial are expected to include 2 roommates at the King Road home who went physically unharmed back in November of 2022. Now, each sat for numerous interviews with the police, according to the arrest affidavit, and they helped investigators establish the 4 victims' whereabouts during the night of their deaths, with one of them providing eyewitness details about a masked man with bushy eyebrows in the home around the time of the suspected deaths. Now, I'm going to agree with the defense on this particular rule. Nothing is more frustrating than they say, the state says, here are your expert reports, here's the report. Well, that's not what Rule 16 provides. It says you need to give a report. And most judges say this is what they're going to testify to, and they don't get to stray from what's in that particular report. Now, here's the thing. It is a death penalty case. So is the judge going to strike the prosecution from putting forward their case in chief because of these experts? Probably not. He may, at most, at a probably upcoming hearing, will tell the prosecution to comply with the rule, and he'll give them a free pass. And that's why they do this, because judges rarely ever hold the prosecution's feet to the fire when it comes to expert witness disclosures. In civil cases, they're a little more strict. Criminal, they're like, well, it's going to blow up their case, so let's not, deal with that. Anyway, prosecution, you need to comply. You have had now, we're going on 2 years, right? November of 2022, so we got 2023, 2024, we're going into 2025. 2 years that you could have had all of this done, and it should have been ready to go. Remember, when the prosecution brings charges, ladies and gentlemen, they're saying we are ready to try this case. And clearly, they have never been ready to try this case. We saw this in the Vallow case. We saw this in the Chad Daybell case. Prosecutions never prepared. They always disclose late, and they get a pass. It's not just an Idaho thing. It happens everywhere too frequently. Now, do I think the case against Kohberger is going to get dismissed because of this? No. Do I even think there's going to be sanctions against the prosecution? No, unfortunately not. Next on the docket, another subway attack. This one, though, the police said, well, at least he only had a head injury. A man allegedly pushed another man into the train tracks at a New York subway station, appeared in court on Wednesday morning. Now, police say 23-year-old Kamel Hawkins pushed a 45-year-old man off the platform into the path of a train at the 18th Street station in Manhattan's Chelsea neighborhood Tuesday afternoon. Now, Hawkins was arraigned in court and charged with attempted murder and assault, and he's ordered held without bail. Now, the New York City Police Department says that Hawkins has a prior arrest dating back to October of 2024 for aggravated harassment, and in June of 2019 for assault on a peace officer. Now, This is what the police say. Well, actually, he suffered a fractured skull, broken ribs, and a ruptured spleen because he got hit by a train. The man is lucky he wasn't chopped in two. Now, the man that was pushed into the train apparently is a music professional, and his name has not been released. But needless to say, people in New York are getting a little upset because apparently crime is up about 30% from pre-pandemic levels there on the train. Now, obviously, you got a lot of people with drug issues and mental health issues, and where do they go to seek shelter when it's cold outside? Well, they go down to the subways. Anyway, bad case. We'll follow it. There's evil in the world, ladies and gentlemen. I know it's a new year. We're going to be positive. I promise the lovely Miss Kristen we're going to be more positive of everything that's taking place in the world. But the reality of it is there is simply pure evil. Some people just aren't wired right. Some people just can't be in society. And I'm telling you, as a criminal defense attorney, it's there to protect everybody's rights. There's some people that just don't belong among us if they cannot behave. If they cannot behave like civilized human beings and not commit violent acts against other people. Just something to think about. Yes, 2025 is here, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, and for all the true diehard Crime Talk fans that have been with me from the beginning, you know that one of my passions is aviation, the law and aviation. Well, Crime Talk 1 has returned. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Took 9 months. But I literally have a brand new airplane. Just thought I'd let you know. All right, first on the docket, the president-elect is going to be sentenced, and he already knows the punishment. First, the judge presiding over the hush money case against President-elect Donald Trump on Friday issued an order and denied his request to dismiss the case and said he'll sentence the future president on January 10th, just 10 days before his inauguration as the 47th president. Now, Judge Juan Merchan said that President-elect Trump could appear in person or virtually for the sentence, and he wouldn't order Trump to be jailed. The order states, quote, while this court as a matter of law must not make any determination on sentencing prior to giving the parties and the defendant the opportunity to be heard, it seems proper at this juncture to make known the court's inclination to not impose any sentence of incarceration, a sentence authorized by the conviction, but one the people concede they no longer view as a practical recommendation, the judge stated in his ruling. Now, Judge Merchan said that a sentence of an unconditional discharge appears to be the most viable solution to ensure finality and allow the defendant, President Trump, to pursue his appellate options, but he would not grant Trump's request to vacate the verdict. The judge said again, hey, we had 12 jurors who unanimously found the defendant guilty of 34 counts of falsifying business records with the intent to defraud, which included an intent to commit or conceal a conspiracy to promote a presidential election by unlawful means, the judge wrote. Now, as you may recall, Trump was convicted back in May on 34 felony counts for falsifying business records related to the alleged hush money payments to his then attorney, Michael Cohen, paid to an adult film star, Stormy Daniels, in the closing days of the 2016 presidential election. It was the premeditated and continuous deception by the leader of the free world that is the gravamen of this offense, the judge wrote. To vacate this verdict on the grounds that the charges are insufficiently serious, given the position defendant once held and is about to assume again, would constitute a disproportionate result and cause immeasurable damage to the citizenry's confidence in the rule of law. Now, a spokesperson for President-elect Trump, Stephen Chung, called the ruling a direct violation of the Supreme Court's immunity decision and other long-standing jurisprudence. This lawless case should never have been brought, and the Constitution demands that it be immediately dismissed. Now, you may also recall that I believe it was yesterday, the Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court gave a statement basically saying, hey, all you lower courts that think you're somehow going to deny Supreme Court's precedent, beware that, the Supreme Court was basically going to fix that. Now, obviously, the president was convicted on these 34 counts on, once again, a unique, novel theory that most people agree was unique and novel, and most of those would be misdemeanors. But the judge allowed in and made this case go forward before the Supreme Court had decided the issue of presidential immunity. And so more than likely, this is going to be reversed at the appellate level. Of course, it's going to take time, but at least there's going to be a sentencing that will start now the appellate clock. The president-elect can have his attorneys perfect that appeal, and that issue can go up through the state court system, and I'm sure it will ultimately somehow get to the United States Supreme Court if the president does not get the relief that he is requesting. We'll see what the process turns out. There were lots of problems with that trial. Once again, a trial that was not televised. I'm a firm believer in all trials should be televised so that everybody can see what is taking place.